Hi everybody, Shakti Sundari here for another round of dating in 2025. I think this is our fifth discussion. So it's me, Shakti Love Coach, together with Eugenia O Liberty. And we've got some more really super juicy topics that we're going to be talking about tonight, including just inviting Eugenia onto the call. I'm going to be speaking a little bit about why I love dating younger men. And I'm going to ask Eugenia to share a little bit about how she manifests dates, because she's like got this superpower to just manifest dates just like that. And you know, I've been on this journey of dating since the end of November last year, and I've had 3 dates with 2 people. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, and thank you so much. I just heard like what you've been saying, and I'm like just laughing. Oh, I can't wait for this conversation. It's so juicy.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything you can do, Eugenia. Your voice is quite quiet again. I don't know what's going on. I can just about hear you. We're going to carry on. It's fine. But I don't know what that's about.
Let me see.
Um,
Can you hear me? Well, how about now? Can you hear me?
it's the same. I can just hear you. Let's keep rolling because I don't want to stop the momentum. You know.
Sure.
So welcome aboard. Hello, good evening, everybody watching live and watching back. I'm Shakti Sundari, love coach based in Glastonbury, and me and Eugenia are here together to talk about dating in 2025. Eugenia, what would you like to say about yourself?
Well, I'm a dating coach and I have superpowers of love, manifesting dates, and I help strong and independent women to create and keep juicy and passionate relationships that rock their world. Yeah, I feel super excited about that. I'm on a mission to create more love in the world, and here I am. These conversations really help to spread the word in the world and create more awareness about actually dating and love and relationships. And I think it's important. And I love these conversations with you.
Thank you, Eugenia. Me too. And, you know, it's really beautiful to share this passion for love, more love in the world, more unity, more harmony, more connection, more intimacy, more juiciness. You know, all of these beautiful things that we both bring in our very lovely, unique ways. That I think that sometimes people lose touch with because of the stresses of life, because of all that's going on around us that can be quite a distraction. And, you know, perhaps in different life phases, there can be a forgetting that we have access to these things, you know. So another, I feel like an important role I have is to be like, you know, authentically myself, but to show women, including, but not only women who are like through menopause, that yes, we are still juicy. Yes, we are still sensual. Yes, we are still open-hearted, you know, and like there's all this beautiful enjoyment of life to be had.
Yeah. And as you speak that, and we don't have to settle.
Right.
We don't have to settle, because what I see a lot of women, the older we get, we think is like, oh, but my clock is ticking, so I better, you know, accept what's available.
Okay.
And then stay miserable. Like, what is the point of that?
Right.
Relationship is the source of power, connection, nurture. It's not the source. And for so many, a relationship is the source of stress. It's like an anxiety. Well, one of these reasons why I ended my last relationship, you know, is I just come to the point where my life is so good, is great, you know. And if you are not on the same level, if you don't bring this like your own greatness into equation, and you know, and bring in stress and you know whatever else. It's like it's not welcome.
Right. I love that. It's not welcome. Um, yeah, I can really relate to that. And it took me a long time to get to that place. And particularly after 4 years of being completely abstinent from sex and like relationship, and then coming back into that arena in like elevated, expanded, more kind of the sense of being more fulfilled from within myself than I've ever been in my entire life. And then it's much more like, you know, I really feel like when I was younger, the conditioning that I had, even from within the Tantra and conscious community, was, oh, I want to be chosen. Like I want the man to choose me. But like, as I've kind of moved with it, I feel like it's the correct dynamic is actually I choose. I choose, I decide,
Yes.
I allow, I determine. Do I want it? Do I not want it? Can you come closer, here, there? What do I want? What feels comfortable in my body? So it feels like the paradigm I was living under for so long was very disempowering as
Yeah.
well. Like, I want to be chosen, you know? And I gave all my power away in that, like sitting back and waiting. And it doesn't mean that I don't embody the feminine energy of receptivity and softness, but I am choosing in how I respond to every interaction with a man now. And it makes it much easier for me to have a boundary. It makes it much easier for me to say no, 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 that's not okay. But like you say, coming from that place where there's not a hunger or like a neediness is so important, because if we're reaching out and grasping out of a sense of scarcity or lack within ourselves, then we're setting ourselves up, like you say, for probably like a match that's not really going to be the greatest for us.
Yeah, you know, I just so love what you just said about uh, like you have to be in this space of congruency with yourself. Like really have to be in a space of congruency. And lots of us, we are deprived. We are deprived of touch. We are deprived of connection. We are deprived of affection and nurture, and we just tell ourselves stories. Oh, but I don't need this. I'm a strong and independent woman, or I'm a strong and independent man. I don't need this. You know, it's like I'm good on my own. We were wired for connection. The sooner we're gonna understand that, the better our life gonna be. Is just we were wired for connection. We were wired to be in connection with others. We were wired for intimacy. It's our biological need.
Yeah.
You know, when you give a birth to a baby, if you're just gonna feed the baby and leave the baby on their own, they're gonna die because they don't have that bond and connection. So then we are growing up and we have some unpleasant experiences, and we tell ourselves stories that we don't need this because it becomes a source of pain.
Yeah.
But it's not the source of pain. Absence of that intimacy and connection, that is the source of pain. But when the connection and love is there, it's wonderful and it's lovely.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the scientific studies to quote, but I know it's true that without just things like touch, in fact, things like touch, holding hands, hugging, kissing, but it doesn't have to be any kind of sexual intimacy, but without physical touch and intimacy, we don't really thrive. Our mental health suffers, our emotional health suffers. And I happen to be following, I don't know if you know Paul Brunson, who's a very well-known dating coach. He's brilliant. He's been on TV and he has his own podcast. And I just happened to see a thing that he posted today where he was saying that couples in long-term relationships especially tend to only kiss, I think it was literally for a few seconds a week.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And he
Yes.
said what you want to do to cultivate connection in a relationship is to kiss for at least 6 seconds every day. But I mean, even that's like nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And there was even the study done, you know, like when you hug, you release oxytocin.
Oxytocin.
Yeah, so it's like it's good for your mental health. And there's like, I think 6 hugs, like long hugs a day is something that is advisable. But, you know, from my personal experience, I will tell you, a few years back, in 2019, I was working so much that I didn't date or didn't do like anything. I was just fully absorbed by work and creation and everything. And, you know, don't get me wrong, I love what I do and everything. And I didn't even notice that until I went to Bali, and I thought to myself, let me go and get a massage with a guy. So I went, and of course I wanted a man to be my massage therapist. And as soon as he put his hands on me, my body just like did this, you know, just like tried to suck this like touch, like, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was so touch deprived. I needed this human connection on my body. I needed just someone to put their hands on me and just hold me. Like my whole, I just started going to this guy every day, like every day, because I was touch deprived. And that was me, you know, a young woman. So imagine like how many people there, like younger and older than me, are actually completely touch deprived and don't even realize that.
Oh, I think it's an epidemic of loneliness and touch deprivation, and I think that feeds into then, unfortunately, all kinds of other issues, including, you know, one thing at one point I really want to make is when we talk about intimacy, it doesn't mean sex. And there's 1,000 ways you can be deeply intimate with another person that do not involve anything sexual at all. And those 1,001 or million ways you can be intimate with somebody else are really the bedrock, actually, of better sexual intimacy.
Yeah.
But intimacy doesn't mean sex. And I think this is something that a lot of people are really confused about. And I think that's one of the issues then that happens in the dating world, is that people are seeking intimacy or touch through sex, but it's not really meeting that deep-seated need because it's happening in sort of very casual, unconscious ways. So actually the base need, the fundamental need underneath is still not being met. And then there's this hunger, this drive, this use of sexual energy, which just keeps feeding a cycle where people are kind of using each other in a way, you know? And I can see that like on the dating apps that I'm on, and like the different energies that come my way. It's really, really fascinating. So I want to kind of make sure that we separate intimacy from sex, that they're not the same, and you can get that need for intimacy and touch met in completely non-sexual ways. And but then the flip side of that is I also want to discuss being horny, because
Because
because that's the flip side of it, which, you know, and I will talk about it in a minute separately when I talk about younger guys. But so I'm getting a lot of younger guys approaching me on the dating apps. I'll talk about that in a bit, but like, they're obviously very horny. And one thing I want to say is that I also have a high libido. I also have a strong sexual drive. And, you know, sometimes I've noticed, particularly in the past, really, but it's kind of crept in a little bit now, that if I don't notice that, it can drive a connection that isn't really for my best or for anyone's best, because that horniness is playing itself out. And so I'm kind of also curious, so how do we as women and as men, how do we manage, how do we navigate our horniness without shutting ourselves down sexually? Because it's beautiful to feel alive, it's beautiful to feel juicy, it's beautiful to feel desire. I don't want to shut that down. I love feeling juicy.
Of course,
I want to
of course.
own that in myself, right? And also, again, like role model for women. Yes, you can embrace your desire. Yes, we can be luscious. And how do we like hold ourselves in that and manage that, so that then when we do connect, when we relate, it's coming from a place of integrity. It's coming from a conscious place. It's coming from a place of respect for self and other. And we don't get ourselves into hot water or overstep our boundaries. I've done that a lot in the past, honestly, and then it's like, oh, my holiness forgot I've got a heart,
And that happens very often, and like I'm no stranger to that. But I gotta say that every time when not every time, no, it's like, but when I make decisions based on my horniness, for sure it's not as, it's not a long-term decision. It's a very short-term decision. And that short-term is not necessarily is what I want, even though sometimes I think that it's what I want.
Right.
But when I get on the other side, I'm like, actually, maybe that wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
And, and that's okay to acknowledge that. But I think one way to deal with that is actually having self-pleasure rituals, self-pleasure practices that you don't shut yourself down. It's like my sex drive is freaking high. So if I would act every time, and like, oh, I'm studying sexology, I'm reading these books, and it's like I'm constantly aroused. Because it's like, it's exciting when I'm studying, it's great, and it's like, I love the subject, I love pleasure, I love sex, I love learning about it, and I get turned on, and it's like, okay, so I'm not going to go and look for somebody to satisfy me, because I can satisfy this part of me right now. And actually what I would love is connection that would allow me to relax into the space where I feel safe to express this part of me to someone. But even though right now I don't even think that I'm ready for this kind of connection, or that it has got space in my life for this right now. But saying that, I'm not also denying it, so talking about manifesting dates, I don't know how I do it, but
how do you, okay, because we got Valentine's Day coming up, and even if you think that's a load of bullshit, people are gonna be thinking, I'd so love to go on a date. I've been thinking I'd so love to go on a date. I'd love to be, someone to say, hey, I'd love to take you out and treat me to dinner or a drinks and buy me some flowers. I'd love that.
Yeah.
So how do you manifest it?
I think there is this expression, and I just think about this expression very often, and it translates from Russian as the holy place is never empty.
Oh, say that again.
A holy place is never empty.
Ooh.
So what it says to me, I've been hearing this expression since I was quite young, and I really take it personally as, it's so easy for me personally to meet somebody, to connect with somebody on a more than just, superficial level, and it's so easy for me to go on a date with somebody. I just would be telling my friend, there was a situation, I was working in corporate at the time. So I'm telling my friend, we had this visitor came. I was working in reception, right? And I was saying to my friends, there was this visitor, and he just activated me, like just with his presence. He just like came over, he introduced himself, and I was like, oh my God, hello, like, wow, you know, and I just like have to compose myself and everything. But part of me just like activated and got turned on, and I'm like, right, I am going to meet somebody today, and I'm not playing about it. So I'm on my phone talking to my friend on my way from the office, and I'm like, listen, I'm just in a mood to meet somebody who gonna satisfy this hunger in me, you know. And it's like, I'm not looking for a long term, for tonight. This is what I want. And I just told him exactly what I wanted, you know. And it's like, so he's like, what you gonna do about this? Well, it will be hard to find, you know. It's like, just watch me. So on the way back, I have like there is a local pub, but like fancy pub. So I walk in and there is a football. So I'm like, okay. So,
So everyone's staring at the screen.
everyone is staring at the screen. So I sat down next to this guy, you know, like I found one spare place, and like I was like, hey, can I sit here? He's like, yeah, yeah. Okay, so I had a drink, football has finished, so we chatting. Soon I'm understanding this is not the guy that I'm looking for. Meanwhile, next to me, so I'm like, okay, am I just being crazy here, or like what is happening? So I turn to my right, and there is like a whole bunch of guys next to me, and like this guy who sits right next to me, he just like happens to be like, oh, hi. I'm like, well, hello. So we just like kind of sat down and we just, you know, flirted with each other and everything. So I'm just thinking, okay, I'm ready to go home now. And as I get up, I walk, and he's standing, this guy who was next to me, who I was flirting with, he's standing at the bar. And he's like, where are you going? I'm like, well, I'm going home. Goes like, yeah, what you gonna do at home? I'm like, I'm gonna be waiting for you. He's like, oh, really? What's your address? I'm like, give him my address, my number. He's like, I'll be there in half an hour.
Wow.
I'll be. I was like, great, I'll see you then.
Wow.
So it was enough time for me to get home, get changed. And right half an hour later, the doorbell rings and he arrives.
Wow.
Like, this is the story, you know. And what happened, exactly what I have described to my friend, what I wanted, exactly that happened.
You got
It's
it.
like, this is just, you know, this unwavering knowing in me that I can have what I want. And like somehow when I just think about pleasure and intimacy, it manifests into a reality.
So what you said that I've written down is this unwavering knowing I can have what I want.
Yeah.
That is a really important statement, I think, as like like an affirmation. This unwavering knowing I can have what I want.
Yeah.
And I also want to say a couple of things just in reflection back for those who are watching, listening, that no judgment, you know, because I think that we can judge ourselves, and then other people may judge us, or we may imagine other people are judging us for our desires. But you know what? You get to have whatever you want, however you want. And if there's any judgment, you know, that's coming from a place probably of envy or conditioning, or, you know, trying to limit, like not enjoying other people being fully self-expressed. You know, it can make people feel uncomfortable sometimes, I think, when that's going on. And I'm going to use this as a segue to talking about younger men, because it's been really interesting, my journey with this, to like, I've kind of gone through different stages with it as well, and being aware of a certain amount of judgment from others, and then also from myself a little bit too. But like, so for me, since I was in my mid-20s, almost all, not all, but almost all of my partners have been younger to a certain extent. It was never something I ever had a conscious thought, oh, I like younger men. Just never was a thought. It just happened simply by being out, because on those days there weren't dating apps, and the people that I met and got on with, just we didn't, you know, we didn't even ask each other how old you are, but then when we found out, they were always younger, and it worked. And then the interesting thing was, as I got older, the gap became bigger and bigger. And I got to a point when I stepped into the world of Tantra where I had a bit of a moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm in my 40s now and I've had 2 babies and my body's not as gorgeous as it was. And oh my gosh, you know, and then I did this beautiful exercise with the most present man in the room, the most present man in the room, the most awake, aware person in the room, the most sensitive person in the man in the room, who happened to be 20 years younger than me. And it was the most profound, healing, beautiful experience. And I was crying my eyes out, and I was so moved and also so aroused. And it burst my bubble of my self-image as I'm no longer attractive because I'm in my 40s and I've had 2 children. It just kind of, that all just went, and we became lovers, and we're still friends, and he's amazing. And you know, then it's kind of been a theme that's carried on. And now that I've gone back into the dating world, so it's nothing new for me, but I've had to sort of come up against this barrier within myself of like, oh, should I be doing this? Is it a bit wrong? Is it a bit creepy? But it seems to be what works, right? And as I've gone onto the apps, and I don't think this is exclusive to me, by the way, because I'm speaking to other women and they're having a similar experience. The majority of the men who are liking me are under 40. And I'm really happy about that, because I really like younger men. I don't have a rule about it. It's I mean, I go primarily on energy, more than anything else. But I've written a 10-point list that I want to share of why I love younger men. And also it is now a theme because I'm studying so much social media about dating, and there's loads of posts about it as a trend now. And I'm like, yeah, I've been living that trend since I was in my 20s, guys. Like, I'm the trendsetter, but now everyone else is catching up. So here's the, like, I'm going to go through my list. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this match of older woman, younger man. So for one, it's like life stage. So I am now free. I don't have to look after my kids. I don't have to look after my parents. I'm free. I'm liberated. I don't want to have to look after anyone. So in terms of life stage, it matches really well with guys who are also free and liberated and not encumbered by responsibilities for parents or responsibilities for children, like people who want to just, I want to expand, I want to explore life, I want to adventure, I want to try new things. So that's the stage of life I'm at. So I feel met in that with younger people. Fit and in shape, good physical shape. I'm an athlete. I've been an athlete all my life. I will be an athlete to the day I die. I like a fit, toned, muscular body. And I get a lot of that with the younger men because they work out and they take care of themselves, and I find that really attractive. I find that a turn on. They're fresh, like they're open-minded. They tend to come with less conditioning, less baggage. They're not controlling, they're not patriarchal. They're like full of new ideas, new thoughts. And I love that because I'm also very open-minded. I'm always learning, I'm always growing, I'm expanding. I'm not like sitting back at home on the sofa, like getting ready to retire. I'm actually starting a new stage in my career. So I love guys who are driven, who are ambitious, who have a purpose in life, not people who are like wanting to settle down and slow down. I'm like, my 4th sort of life stage is just beginning. I want to go traveling around the world. I want to learn Spanish, you know. So it's fun, they're adventurous, they're active, they're virile, they're vital. I've got a high sex drive. I love making love for a long time. I want to be with someone who can match me in that. And I've never yet had a lover who, what do I want to say? Like one of the guys I was texting yesterday said, could you keep up with me? And I'm like, I've never had a man who could keep up with me, so don't worry about it. Ambitious, driven, I've said that. And I'm also finding that the younger guys are more aware. They're more like they already have the language of a certain element of conscious relating. They have an awareness of themselves far more than middle-aged men. They have an awareness of things like boundaries. They have an awareness of things like consent. They have an awareness of things like feminism. They have an awareness of attachment styles. Like, so they're much more informed in terms of themselves and relating than older men are. And I couldn't be with someone who doesn't have that as a minimum level of awareness. I find them more relatable in terms of dress sense, music, interests, activities. And again, like when I look at a lot of the middle-aged guys or the older people, like when I look at the way they dress or like the interior design in their homes, because you can see the background in the photos, I'm like, that just looks like an old person and it doesn't vibe with me. And I also find that they're more respectful as well towards me than some of the older guys. And I actually asked I was chatting to a guy yesterday who's in his 20s. And I said to him, why are you interested in older women? You know, and he said, well, because you're much more interesting than younger girls or girls my age. You're much more interesting, you're more mature, you're more grounded, you're much more interesting to talk to, plus you're caring, you're compassionate, you're loving. So he had just only positive things to say. You're not embarrassed about your body, you know what you like in bed. So all these good things. So it's quite a good match, I think. So there you go. That's my little spiel about younger men.
Oh, that's lovely. And I actually relate, you know, in terms of that I love this younger energy and that drive and passion for life. However, not everyone has it.
True.
Not everyone has it.
True.
I met a younger guys who, like, I call them younger old people.
Yeah.
It's like, you're just a young old man. You know, it's like, I don't know, like, what is going on, but you're a young old man. This is what, and this happens, you know. And I also have, like, me personally, since the age of 16, I was dating an older man.
Right.
But it seems like the older I get, I start dating younger men. And it's bizarre. But I don't complain, you know. I quite like my dating pool. Is like, I could date probably a father and a son at the same time. I'm in this age that I could date and the father and the son. So
I would probably go for the son.
Yes. Oh, this is so fun. But you know, actually, as you've been talking, I was thinking, like, also, how come, you know, it's like but my desires manifest so easily. And one core component for that is I'm unapologetic about what I want. You know, I am absolutely freaking honest. If I want to have a wild sex, I'm gonna be very honest with myself and say, this is what I want.
Yeah.
You know, there is like, and there is nothing gonna stop me from having that.
I love that.
Unless it's not good for me, because I only choose what's good for my highest good.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So if I want a deep and meaningful connection, like, example of that also would be, yesterday I was going to the gym and I was like thinking to myself, how wonderful would it be to meet someone who is like, loves camera as much as I do and loves like being on camera. And sure enough, I'm in a gym exercising and there's this guy and we just like start like bantering together. And he's like, oh yeah, but and he has his phone on the tripod, you know. And he's like, yeah, I'm just like posing and everything. I'm like, this is so great. So we just followed each other, you know, and it's like, and this just happens when you are really honest with yourself about what you want.
Mm.
And it's like, do you want you know, a one night stand? That's fine. You know, have that for yourself. If you want a long, deep and meaningful connection with somebody, that's fine. Just admit that to yourself. There is no shame about it. No shame. And it's like, as soon as you start making yourself wrong for
Yes.
once in what you want, this is where you like killing it for yourself. This
Oh
is where
my
you
gosh, that's, yes.
cock blocking yourself. Like, what is? Don't do that.
That is so it. That is so it. I remember, like, in so many of the women's groups that I facilitated, one of the words that came up so much was, thank you for creating a field of permission. And I had never thought of it like that before, that many women had this unconscious barrier, and I'm sure I have had it too, and probably still have it in some, definitely still have it in some areas. Like, I need someone to give me permission. Is it okay to want what I want? You know, so like, again, I like to give examples of just letting all of that self-judgment go. So the other day, again, complete radical honesty, I was feeling horny and wanted some I wanted some stimulation. I was feeling a little bit frustrated after like another date had kind of, I'd felt disappointed by, and I was like, I want to like flirt, I want to play. And I got pretty quickly after having that desire, and I was like, no, I'm going to own it, you know, I'm going to own it. I basically started to flirt online with this really gorgeous, really smart younger man. And it was so hot and it was so fun. And I was feeling really intellectually stimulated, because that's a really important thing for me. He was like a city lawyer, and like, it was just so fun and it was so fast. And that part of me that wanted to be met in that way, intellectually, but a little bit flirtatiously, like we weren't sexting, it was just more like the speed of, you know, our wit. I find that really exciting, and it was like keeping me tuned in and tapped into him. It was such fun, and I didn't need any more. That's just what I wanted in that moment, and I was just owning it without, like you were saying, like without self-judgment or self-limitation, like this idea of this like really hot young guy and me having this conversation. Nothing wrong with that, you know, like just blowing all the limitations out of the water.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, magic happens when you give yourself permission to want what you want. Like, your desire, more than that, your desire is choosing you. You're not choosing your desire. You know, it's like it's choosing you. You are here, just acknowledge that, oh, I have this calling. Yes, this is so. Where do I follow? But again, you have a choice to follow or not to follow.
Right.
Because, like, let's be honest, sometimes what we want is not ethically accepted or ethically or politically correct. You know, it's like there have been times, I'd imagine, that all of us might have liked, you know, a partner of your friend or something like that, you know, or maybe there could be like a different example, or like maybe you like the same dress as your friend, or you know, or something along those lines. And then it doesn't mean that you have to have what you want,
Right.
but it means that, you know, this is not right for you to go
Right.
with the partner of your best friend.
Right.
You know, it's not morally correct, so you have a choice to follow the desire or not.
Right. Yeah.
But But when you have the desire in yourself, like let's say for a flirtatious time or for amazing, you know, encounter or love making with somebody, you know, that you actively not doing anything wrong, but you making yourself wrong for wanting it. And what happens then is like you suppress this desire, and then you go and have a, like, I don't know, a few drinks with your friends, and the barriers go away, and you like, woohoo, let's go. And then next morning you wake up with somebody, and you're like,
Mm.
oh my God, what happened? You know, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, I knew I shouldn't be doing this. I knew I should, but you wanted this in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
desire was
the
there.
thing that you mentioned before, Eugenia, I think is really important there about being really honest with yourself.
Mm.
Because I think a lot of times we're not completely honest with ourselves, even about what we really, really want. And then the other thing is, when you're really clear that it's you who's making the choice, then there really is nobody to blame for any repercussions, you know. And I think that's also really important, because I do recall when I was younger, I would do things and then I would blame the guy for not taking care of me, or I'd blame the guy for doing something. Oh, but you didn't this. And I had no concept, it's quite a long time ago now, of being self-responsible or just owning what my desire actually was. And I think that's also a really important point to make, is like really own, because then we can get into the murky grounds of manipulation and using our sexual energy to seduce unconsciously, you know, and then like throwing it back on the other person in terms of what they did to us, and they, you know, whatever. So I think radical honesty, no blame, owning your desires, that's all really, really awesome points to make. And coming back to, I can have exactly what I want and I'm going to be unapologetic about it.
How juicy and powerful does that feel? It's like I am the deciding factor of like whether I'm gonna have what I want or not. I get to do the choosing.
I
It's
get to do,
my
yeah.
decision. It's my decision. What I want is mine.
Mm.
There is nothing that can get in the way of me having what I want.
Well, receiving, you know, I was listening to another blog or podcast the other day, which was talking about women's capacity to receive and
Mm,
how this can apply to men, to love, to abundance, and how we can often have like a limited capacity to receive. And, you know, she connected it, and I would too, to the sensation of abundance and fullness in the womb space,
mm,
and being able to like breathe all the way down into your yoni and your womb and like really feel expansive in that area, and make space in the body, for more of like more pleasure, like more abundance, more compliments, more juiciness, more deliciousness. And how a lot of times we shut that down, or we close it off, or we disconnect, and we just bring our energy back up, like up. So
mm,
it's like in the upper centers of the body, but it's kind of restricted up here.
mm,
Kind of goes back to that thing we were talking about the other day about relaxation as well, you know, about like relaxing the whole body. You can see my shoulders dropping as I say that, relaxing the whole body, and like bringing your awareness down into your womb, and like breathing into that container, and like visualizing that womb chalice like overflowing, like it makes me think of what you said at the beginning, a holy place is never empty. And it's like the chalice of the womb, you know, overflowing with juicy nectar.
mm. Yeah, this sounds so, so lovely and nourishing. And when I actually learned about desire, um, it's we called it havingness level.
Oh.
You know, it's like how much you can have, how much of a good stuff you can have. And it's like, oh, there is too much of a good stuff. Oh my God. And there is, the fear usually comes from when you're confronted by your desire. It's like, and it comes in love, in money,
Ooh.
and other areas of life. It's like, oh my God, like when I just, uh, uh, well, basically, one of my dreams when I started this work was to have freedom,
Mm-hmm.
travel the world,
Mm-hmm.
do the work that I love.
Mm-hmm.
That was my dream. That was my desire. And in 2019, I traveled so much. It was crazy. I was traveling for work, coming back home, just managed to change my suitcase and go off on the road again the next
Oh,
day.
I love this.
And I was sitting and I remember sitting myself. I just came back from Sweden where I've been recording my course, The Orgasmic Queen, with my business partner then. And I came back home, changed my suitcase, going to Ibiza. After coming from Ibiza, I was going to Bali, and I was sitting there on my terrace, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so scared. It's like I surely cannot have so much, fun and adventure. It's like it started triggering of like how much I can have. And then I had to do the process on myself to actually acknowledge I can have this and more.
And more.
I can have this and more. When it comes to money, for example, uh, receiving a certain amount of money, I just freeze.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
When I see the numbers on my bank account, I don't feel anything. I'm like, oh my God. So I go into uh, what is it called? Trauma response,
Okay.
the freeze trauma response, because money in my life have been a cause of bad things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I see a lot of money, it's like, oh my God, something bad, like it can be taken away.
Mm-hmm.
It like the money is spent on the bad stuff, and it's like all those stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to work through that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the pleasure in my life I have is been used, to manipulate things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like this is what I have seen. So I had to untangle all of those stories that have been that I have learned throughout my life
Yeah.
in regards to relationship, money. It's like, and it's all in our root chakra,
Right.
right here. It's all connected. So for us, like this exercise that you have described, to breathe into your womb, oh my God, it just like felt so spacious, so nice and nourishing. And I feel like, for anyone who wants to expand their happiness level, their capacity to receive, have to really, first of all, doing this exercise and then start actually acknowledging what they want,
Mm-hmm.
and then go and ask that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just decide for yourself with some simple things that tomorrow I would love someone to buy me a coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a big thing. Just allow yourself to receive. And like what we women do very often, it's like when someone gives us a compliment, it's like, oh, this is a nice dress. It's like, oh, thanks. It's just like a cheap thing from the Primark I got 20 years ago. It's like, don't do that.
No.
Just don't do that. Just say thank you,
Mm-hmm.
smile,
Mm-hmm.
and move on with your day.
Receive it.
Yeah.
Like I used to do that. I used to deflect all the time. Deflect, deflect,
Mhm.
deflect, deflect. And then at a certain point I was like, no, thank you. And not feel also like say like feel the compliment coming in, like feel it in my body, feel the energy of that appreciation,
Yeah.
like really feel it, say thank you, and not feel compelled to say anything in return. I very rarely, like, well, I just don't. I would never now say anything that I don't actually mean. So when I receive a compliment, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
And there's no, oh, and you look beautiful too, unless like I was going to say that anyway.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
like, thanks.
But you know about the compliments, it's like the whole today since we started talking, I just been admiring your skin. Your skin is so glowing and so beautiful, and your cheeks is so pink, and yeah,
I'm
you
just
look
hot.
fabulous. Well, we're talking about the hot topics, but honestly, your skin just looks absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Hmm,
Thank you.
you're so welcome. And this is the example of how you do it. You just say thank you, and that's it. And like, this is really what people usually like try to, oh, you know, but you too, and la 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 la, and like try to take this feeling of being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, because it's uncomfortable to receive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, over the sudden, what, all attention on me?
Mm-hmm.
And what is another thing that us women, for some reason, they think if like one is receiving a compliment, then, you know, it somehow means that you're taken away from somebody else, or like something along those lines. It's like, we can be beautiful, all of us, you know, all together simultaneously.
Yeah.
We can all be beautiful. It's absolutely fine. We are allowed, all of us, to be beautiful.
Totally. I think everyone, I mean, I just think women are beautiful, full stop. I just really love women in that way. Just, yeah, I find women just so beautiful. I wish women, kind of gone a bit off topic, but I just wish women would recognize their beauty more. It makes me really sad when women sort of talk themselves down and denigrate themselves and criticize and judge themselves. And I just think, my gosh, just look at you. You're beautiful. I wish you knew how beautiful you are. And I wish you knew you don't have to do anything to be beautiful. You already are. And I wish you knew that you're already worthy. You don't have to do anything to be worthy. You already are. I wish every woman really, really knew that about herself.
And you know, and men also. I feel men also, because the amounts of men that I meet, a beautiful, wonderful, most incredible man, but telling themselves a story that somewhere he's not good enough. And you cannot build anything with somebody who feels they're not good enough.
No, I tell you, actually, there was somebody, I don't know if I already told you this story, on the dating app that I'm on a few weeks ago now, and on paper, like on the app, he was gorgeous to look at, really talented, really interesting according to his bio. We connected instantly, and I thought, wow, this guy lives just down the road. He's like really handsome, he's really interesting. Like, wow, why have I never met him before? And within like the same day, we were on the phone having a conversation because it went so fast. And the first thing he said to me was something like, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something like, you know, oh, well, why you should be talking to someone like me. And all my excitement about that connection just went vroom. I was like, oh my God, this man doesn't value himself. And then within a few more minutes, he'd said two more statements that indicated to me that he was devaluing himself with his own words in conversation to me. And I thought, no, not for me.
Yeah. And unfortunately, also, I have been in a relationship where I've been getting to know somebody, and what he said to me was, I'm just afraid that you're gonna find out that I'm not good enough for you. And I was like, oh, this is, you know, this is a slippery slope. Are you gonna like do something about it, or like what is like, are you not good enough, or like what is going on? And as it happens, he went out of his way to prove me that he's not good enough.
Oh,
You know, he went on a quest to prove me that he's not good enough, and I was like, okay, I get it.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. No more. I don't need any more proof. I see what you're doing, and good luck to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Somebody once said something like, men are very honest in a certain way. They do tell you exactly what they want, and they do tell you about themselves, even if they don't realize. Because I've been in that situation a few times where someone has sort of said, I don't think I'm good enough for you. And I've gone into my rescuer mode or my compassionate mode and said, oh, but you are. And like I've tried to talk them up, like the coach in me or the empath in me or the nurturer in me, you know. And then, yeah, it was a dysfunctional, unhealthy connection because they put me on a pedestal and we weren't equal. And it just was never ever going to work. And so I will never do that again. If I hear a man say in some way, directly or indirectly, that he thinks he's not good enough, I will believe him,
Yeah.
and I will exit that situation, because I don't want to be with a man who's telling me that right at the outset. You know, of course we all have moments where we have doubt. Of course we all have moments when we're not at our best. You know, obviously everybody has that every now and again. It's human, it's normal. But if that's what you're leading with, then that tells me that's a very strong belief that you're holding. And you know, it's going to create a disparity of power, that's not going to be healthy. It's not going to work. So women
Absolutely.
stop rescuing men, and women stop being mummies and stop being empaths. And like you said at the very beginning, like hold out for what you want and be unapologetic about what you do want, what you do desire, and really value yourself enough to know that you are worthy of that.
Absolutely. That or something even better.
Or even better. Thank you.
Ooh! Let's see what we have in store. Because really, it's like you cannot even imagine how good it can get. You know, there is no limits to how wonderful it can be if you give yourself permission to have it. You know, you can't even imagine like how good it can be, because you know you're limited by your limiting beliefs about what you can have, your limiting beliefs about yourself or who you are. So who do you need to become to receive the beautiful, wonderful gifts, you know? And actually, for the past couple of days, what is coming up for me in my meditation is a journal prompts for myself and some of my clients is, where do I feel that I am not good enough? You know, where do I feel that I can't have what I want?
Right.
So I feel that there is a serious journaling session is coming up.
These are brilliant. I think, you know, I've written it down for myself. You know, my key word for this year is expansion. Talking with you inspires me. Talking with you and sharing in this way reminds me of how I still limit myself and how much more I desire. My key word is expansion. This year for me is about more, 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 more.
Yes, 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 yes. Bring it here. I'm here. I'm ready. Absolutely. It's so fun. It's so fun to play with the universe like that.
And I'm also, I know we're coming to the end of the hour, but I just want to like remind everyone again of this this useful point from my own experience that relates to this, which is that I had gotten attached to one of the guys I dated recently, and I also was noticing how that was holding me back. like that attachment that had formed. So I was kind of like stuck on him, and therefore no longer open to possibility. And I've kind of detached from that now. It took a little bit of processing, but it's like just seeing that, it's been really useful to see how I did that, taking full responsibility for my, you know, what I did it. Nobody else did it, I did it. But like in that week or two where I was in that, I had shut myself off from life's possibilities, you know. So like just observe like where that might be also part of the pattern. You know, so that was, but let's finish on a high.
Absolutely, absolutely. This conversation was so juicy, and I think that there was a various times where both of us just like felt like melting and so playful. I just love it so much.
Do you want to mention your upcoming event, Eugenia?
Of course. And actually what I was thinking, that maybe you could come down to London and travel for a playful evening on a Valentine's Day.
Oh, maybe.
You know, I can't see why not. Playful adults, you know, doing playful things. How amazing would that be?
Let's talk about it afterwards.
Absolutely.
I was actually literally thinking, like, here we go, manifestation. I was thinking today, I want to go to London for a weekend. I think I want to go quite soon. I think the energy is building to just go on an impromptu trip, but I need an event to be the reason for me to go. So there you go.
What? Instant manifestation. This is so exciting. Oh, this is so brilliant. So yes, and for those of you who's watching, if you feel like, what am I gonna do on Valentine's Day? I think you guys and girls should send me a message and come and join me at Valentine's Celebration of Love for playful adults. We're gonna have a nice glass of bubbly and just, you know, play some connection games to really access this energy of desire, energy of playfulness in a safe, curated environment. So I would love to have you there. And yeah, invitation is open. I'm gonna share a link below.
Okay, beautiful.
What about you? What are your invitations today?
Well, something that just popped in for me today is that I would really love to invite some new clients to work with me one-on-one around this whole topic of love, intimacy and relationship. It's just such a juicy topic, and I really love guiding people to the recognition that love is what they already are, and to kind of support people to move through things that might be in the way of that recognition, and bringing integration to some of these parts that get in the way, some of these lost parts, some of these hurting parts, some of these yearning parts, just bringing it all back to a sense of integration and completeness, like bringing everything back to the center, everything back to the heart, and yeah, kind of connecting with that sense of sovereign empowered self right here.
So beautiful. So beautiful. And anyone who is going to join you is in for absolute treat. I'm absolutely sure of that. It's like the permission and the welcoming that you set for people, it's unmatched. So it's beautiful, beautiful experience.
Thank you, love.
I absolutely would love for anyone to experience the beauty of feeling held in a space where they can show their deepest and darkest and maybe most resentful parts of themselves,
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
they can show up in the world in a way that it's like, well, I'm here and it's all of me here, you know, so
Yeah,
you don't have to like fragment yourself in any kind of way.
yeah. Wow, thank you for that beautiful seeing and reflection. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I feel like we're gonna do some talking about this coming Friday, and other than that, we will have our next conversation next Monday at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Yep, as we do. So yes, beautiful talking to you today, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, Eugenia, and thank you everyone again so much. Have a beautiful week and a very loving week. Bye.